BassResinator here. I've got the rectangular mold. It's like a little, almost 8 inches long, 7.7 inches long, 2.5, 3 inches wide, and 2.4 inches deep. And I was talking with my called an agent, but my person that I go through at Let's Resin, and they said, what are we going to do next, since I have done a few projects with them? And I said, well, I like to preserve flowers. And they said, do that, use one of our molds. So this is one of the molds, it comes with this bracket here, assuming I can get it on there. Come on now. There we go. Notice how it's peeling back a little bit right there on the edges. Let me show you what I'm going to do to fix that. I don't remember who I saw do this, but they had some clamps. And you see it's got this little rubbery thing on here to protect the silicone. So we'll just put this up here at the top and clamp it right onto that bracket. So it'll hold it right in place. And I'll take them out when the resin gets fuller, because I'm not going to fill it all the way up yet. What I need to do to get, I want this to be, this pour to be able to be used as a stand-up, you know, you can put it on your bookcase, or you can have a little lamp underneath it and have it shine, but I want it to have a background. I will tell you what what flowers I'm using. There is a plant that grows very well here. I live in a tropical type area of South Texas. We don't get a lot of rain, but there are certain plants that grow in this area that do not do well in the cold, but they bloom all the time during the summer, and they're called bougainvillea. And a neighbor down the, well, neighbor, he's not next door, but a person down the street that lives in my neighborhood, so I guess a neighbor, has some growing, and I said, hey, can I get some of those? And he goes, yeah. So I got some, and I put them in some sand. They've been in there for a couple of weeks, so they are going to be completely dry. Before I put them in here, though, I have noticed that bougainvillea, let me see if I've got some handy. Yes, I do. Coming up. Coming up. These I dried out at least a year ago, and so they got really pretty colors, but they're paper thin. And the problem with paper thin things like that is when you put them in the resin soaks through and they become almost transparent. They look kind of cool, but you lose this color, and I want to keep this color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ones that I just dried just for this project, and I'm going to spray them with some varnish, and that will hopefully keep them from going transparent on us. So I will take care of that off camera, because I'd have to take you out, but I'm going to put a background in here. So let me get some resin mixed up, and I will do that right here. Okay, I mixed up 3 ounces of resin, and I put in this lawn green mica powder from Let's Resin. And then when I first got into resin art a couple of years ago, I bought one of the starter kits from Let's Resin, and they sent these different these little foil thingies. And I thought, you know, this green would mix with this lawn green really well, so I'm just going to throw in a few of these. Let me get my spoon and mix it into this resin. And I don't want to mix them too far because I don't want them to sink too far, because I want them to be shining in the background. Now this mica powder is very shiny. It's got a quality to it that shines, it sparkles. But I wanted just a hint of, when they just went away. Look at that. Huh. Well, may have to put in a couple more on the top. Now, I learned a little trick that if you pour the resin onto the stick, you'll be able to not introduce as many bubbles. You don't want to have bubbles. Now, just this being 3 ounces, there shouldn't be a very thick back to this finished piece, but it'll be opaque enough to highlight the flowers that I'm going to put in here. And I've seen other people do the fairy lights, but I don't want to see the lights in the piece itself. So that's why I'm doing it this way, and then I'm going to put a little lamp underneath and then have the flowers be illuminated from below, or the ambient light from the room. Yeah, I'm gonna need a few more of those little I can't see any of them. I'm also gonna do something. I'm gonna go around the edge and just take a dotting tool, just in case there's any bubbles trying to hide out. Bubbles will definitely collect where there is a 90-degree angle. Now I'm using 1-to-1 art resin stuff from Let's Resin in here, but I need some more sparklies going on. And these, the ones that I'm going to put in now, I can see a couple of them in here, but these that I'm going to put on here will just sit on the top. They don't weigh enough to sink through it. Whereas other type of insertions, little beads or something, will sink immediately. Now I haven't decided yet which side is going to be the top side. It doesn't really matter. But once I end up deciding, then I will orient the flowers accordingly. And you'll see what I mean when I get to that point, which will be sometime tomorrow. So I got to let this cure up. This, because it's not very thick, it's going to take longer to cure. So that's good. So just a hint of shininess in the background will attract attention from the, as you're walking by. If let's say it's on a bookshelf and you're walking by and you're like, oh, but you see a little shimmer of light or shiny going on, you'll be attracted to it. You just watch. So I'll come back to you when this cures enough to where I can put in the flowers and the deep pour. Okay, we'll see ya. Well, you can see I've got stuff all around now. I went a long time ago, 2 years maybe, I bought this butterfly and moth collection from Let's Resin, and they're it's a thick paper, almost like a cardboard. Now they don't have antennae, but these look real. Now there are a bunch of variety of butterflies that fly through every year where I live, and you know, I got a glare right there. Maybe if I go, Maybe that made it better. I don't know. And one is called the Queen and one is called the Monarch. And they both fly through and they both love milkweed. And so I've got milkweed growing out here to give them something to feed on as they migrate through. But I thought, let me put them in here since that's what would look normal for around in this area. Now this one I stuck down, I put UV resin on the edge. I think you can see, hopefully you can see a little, I put a bead around the edge because I don't want it floating up because these are lightweight and these flowers, once you dry them, they don't weigh anything. And so I'm going to have to stick them down, either that or put a very thin layer of resin, stick it down. But then what I don't want to have happen is have little layer marks in the resin. So I want to try and get it all in one pour if at all possible. Now the deep pour resin is good for this depth, so we should be good there. Now I have a whole bunch of, so I'm going to stick this one on top of the flower arrangement. So that one's down at the bottom, this one will be floating around here on the top. But I have this piece that I could use in there, but I thought, no, I need more. So I've got this one, which I could put in here sideways, which would be very pretty, but I don't have any greenery. So I have this one with the leaves, and I could put it in here, but again, I'll have to stick it down so that it doesn't move. And this way I can still highlight the butterfly, and then put this guy sitting right here on that blank spot. So I'm going to do that with UV resin. I'll put a little dab. See, there's one where a little stem that broke. One of the flowers broke off. These are very brittle. They're pretty, and they'll last a lifetime now that I've dried them out. But they're very brittle, so that's why putting them in resin is perfect. So I'm thinking if I put this guy and just stick him on right on that little stem that broke, we'll be good. And I actually have another little leaf that broke off. I was trying to get all the sand off of it, and stuff started breaking off. There's a spot right there. I could put that leaf. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, so in order for me to do that, let me move these flowers. And I can always use these with some other project, which I will. I'm going to move this over here so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I have this high viscosity UV resin, and I got my resin curing flashlight here. People across the pond call it a torch. You can call it whatever you want. Now there's some that when I've poured before, I hope I don't break it when I do messing around with this. That may be enough. Just put a little dab on there. It doesn't take much to hold it. As long as it doesn't come loose when I pour the other resin in there. Don't want to break this. Come on. That didn't get enough on there. Using every bit of this resin that I can. Ta-da! Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Cool. Got him. So, I took that little stem that looked like it was broken. You know, I've got this other resin from Let's Resin. It's called Resin for Curing. Or not for curing, for bonding. Could have used it as well. But I had this thick stuff. I don't have to worry about it pouring off. Let me just... I just want to get a daub. There, that's what I wanted for this one, to make sure I can hold that butterfly in place. Oh, come on now. Okay, maybe if I do it upside down. No, I'm trying to get it. I need another set of hands. Can I do it without breaking stuff off? I don't know. Come on now. Pull that over here to help hold it from sliding away. The cool thing about UV resin is it cures so fast. Yes. Now we'll have to see what it looks like on the other side. See you on the other side. See you on the other side. Okay, now bring this back. Oh, look at that. That's cool looking. You know, I've got some tweezers around here somewhere. Okay, what is hitting? Ah, the butterfly's wing. Ah, cool. So if I put a blob of UV resin right there. Now the cool thing is this is clear, and the deep pour that I'm going to be using, I'm going to go clear, so shouldn't see this at all. So if you don't have some UV resin handy, you need to get some. get this so that he's not leaning up. Because the flower over here is leaning up against the edge, and the butterfly is leaning up against the edge. Okay, butterfly's off. This is off now. Off the edge is what I'm talking about. Now, after I get that hooked down, we shouldn't have any movement, and I can pour the resin around this. Now, I have a vacuum chamber. I do not have one of those bubble remover things. I know Let's Resin has a machine like that, and a couple other companies do as well. But I have a big vacuum chamber. I don't have the small machine, but my vacuum chamber is out in the garage, and so you won't see me do that part. But I'm going to mix up. I think this says it holds 33 ounces. I'll check again. Of resin. Man, that seems like a lot, but I'll check. But whatever it needs, I will take that and mix up that in deep pour, which I have the deep pour resin from Let's Resin. Now, if you've never worked with deep pour resin, just to let you know, it is a 2-to-1. So there's 2 parts of, yeah, cool. 2 parts of resin to 1 part hardener, and it's very thin. It degasses very easily, or very quickly. But I want to still put it in the vacuum chamber just to be on the safe side, to make sure that we have no bubbles. But yeah, this is, I'm sitting here looking at that, and then have a light source. I have a pack of lights that I got from Let's Resin. It's there's one that's round and it's got LED lights in, and the other one is square. I think I'll use the square one on the bottom of this, and then just set it there. It's an LED light, and it's got an on-off switchy. You've got to have access to a USB plug, though, to make it work right. Okay, let me get that resin mixed up, and I'll be right back. Before I haven't mixed up my resin yet, but before I do that, I wanted to show you. There's Let's Resin lamps you can get, and one is square like this, which will fit perfectly on the bottom here, or here, and it'll light up. It's got 2 LEDs, and it'll be very bright, and it'll come up through that, which is going to look really pretty. And so I thought I would show you that because I mentioned it. But I'm going to use this gigantic mixing cup, and I'm going to mix in 27 ounces. I hope that's enough to get over the top of the flowers and the leaves here. I think the leaves are a little bit higher. But so what that means is I'm going to have to use 9 ounces of part B and then 18 ounces of part A. So I thought maybe I would show you that because I've talked about it, but I didn't show you. Okay, so here is the deep pour, and this is part B, and I will put it in first. But notice it says maximum pour depth up to 2 to 4 inches, so this will fit perfectly. So I'm going to pour in 9 ounces. Don't worry about the bubbles. Okay, there's 9. And then I always wipe the edge to get any excess off, because if you don't, here's a little hint, if you don't wipe the edge of the container off when you pour, you'll end up getting a streak down, and because resin is very thin and gravity does work, and it will pour, I mean, it'll flow all the way down to your floor. So if you've got it sitting on your floor, you're going to have a sticky mess later on, because it won't cure unless it's mixed. Okay, here is part A. Comes in a lot bigger jug because you need twice as much. I'm going to take it up to 27. And it's getting cloudy. That is normal. And as you mix, the cloudy will go away. But as you mix, bubbles will happen. And that's why I'm going to put it in the vacuum chamber to take care of that, to remedy that. Okay, I wiped around the edge, but notice I got a drip on the side right there. So make sure you wipe all that off before you store, because you'll end up with a mess. Okay, now in the deep pour resin, they send you this big thing. Why? Because I need a big spatula to mix in this big cup. So thank you, Let's Resin. So I will come back to you after I mix this and after I take it out to the vacuum chamber to debubble it. When you are mixing, I'll just point this out. When you're mixing, make sure you scrape the sides as you go. And I scrape the sides and turn so that I get all of the sides, because uncured or unmixed resin will hang out on the side and on the bottom. So make sure you're as you're stirring, you get all the way down to the bottom and the sides. And then after you've gone a while, then do a little like a squeegee effect, go around the edge, and make sure you get that all cured. I mean, all mixed in, because you don't want to have uncured resin, because it will, I mean unmixed resin, because it won't cure correctly. It'll leave a cloud effect, it'll leave bubbles, it'll cause all kinds of problems. So make sure you mix it well, 4 to 5 minutes, and check and see if there's any little streaks happening. If those streaks are there, keep mixing. So I'll come back to you after I get this mixed and degassed in the vacuum chamber. Now, when I last left you, this was kind of cloudy, but now it's clear as water and no bubbles. So I'm going to try and keep bubbles from happening, because if I pour from a distance, it's going to hit, and it's going to, when it splashes, it's going to cause bubbles. So what I'm going to try and do is pour without it onto this stick, and that should reduce the amount of bubbles happening, if any happen. And this will also allow the resin to come up around the flowers, and reduce the amount of bubbles that would possibly be there. So that's what we don't want, bubbles. I've already come up about a centimeter. I'm pouring it slowly. The slower you pour, the less bubbles you will introduce. If you don't have a vacuum changer or a bubble-free type of machine, you can stir very slowly, so as not to introduce any bubbles. But then you can also just let it set. Like this deep pour has a longer working time. Now the 4-hour cure, you can't do that. It'll start setting up on you. The 1-to-1 resin, you don't want to wait too long, but you can allow a lot of bubbles to come up. Now, if you do have bubbles in deep pour, the neat thing about it is it's so thin, such a low viscosity, it releases the bubbles most of the time on their own. But there are some types of flowers, for example, roses or sunflowers. Even if you seal them, they somehow produce bubbles. So you have to be really careful working with those types of flowers. The more petals there are, the more stuff that can happen. The middle of a sunflower or flowers such as that have all kinds of little stems that stick up, and those just trap bubbles, something fierce. So you have to be careful when you pour, or come up with little tricks to try and alleviate those bubbles. It's still coming up. Don't be in a hurry when you're doing this. Same type of thing if you're pouring into a sphere. You don't want to go too fast, because you will have problems. Now I have those clips up high, so they shouldn't interfere with, the resin shouldn't get to them. And if it does, then I'll have to... Okay. Do I have all the flowers are covered? Awesome. I'm looking around the edge to make sure those clips are not... Okay. I have just a little bit of resin left. So I'll pour it up to about the point of those clips. Oops, sorry about that. Just smacked my head into the camera mount. Now it says it holds 33 ounces. It might, but I don't want to go any closer to that edge. I mean, up to those things, those clips. Okay, now look, there are some bubbles coming up from I don't know what, probably that paper, the butterfly. So let me deal with those. I'll come back to you in just a bit. Well, right when I was about to rub along the bottom, there now some more bubbles are coming up. I think they're coming from the underside of that butterfly. Now, the cool thing is there's just little tiny bubbles here. I can come back every once in a while and check and make sure they're all popped, because they're popping on their own right now. But I can use a long-handled lighter and just go over it real quick, and they're gone, just like that. But now I'm getting some more bubbles, so I'll have to keep coming back here and checking, making sure they've all released. But look how pretty that flower is in there. And by sealing it ahead of time, it has kept them from going transparent on me, which is no fun when they do that. Okay. We'll see you for the unmolding. Bye. I put a dust cover over this to keep the dust out, and I'd come back every once in a while and I would notice a bubble but it's gotten past the point of being able to pop them. So what do? I'm going to wait until this hardens up completely, and then I can drill down through those spots where the bubbles are on this surface, and then take these clamps off and pour the rest of that with the 1-to-1 resin, because I cannot get those bubbles out now. Bummer! I was paying so careful attention to it, but bubbles got ahead of me. Okay, well, that's how we have to fix the problem. We'll see you when it's time to take care of those bubbles. Well, I couldn't show you how I got rid of the bubbles or how I drilled them out, because I had to take it outside to do it. But I used my Dremel, and I used this bit right here to get a roundish area, so when I put a new layer of resin in, it'll go down in there and just blend. But I need to, so that new layer of resin will stick to this one, I need to sand this a little bit too. So I'm going to come back with a sander. I said sander, I just meant some sandpaper. I've got some 400 grit. I know it's 400 because it's right there. And I'm just going to scuff it up a little bit so that the new layer of resin going on will, let me turn it this way, will stick to it better. I don't want to go up against the edges of the mold and scuff the mold. I just want the resin to have a little bit of texture to it. Now it looks like I'm ruining it. I know, don't worry. When I spray some alcohol on this, you'll see what it'll look like when I put the resin on. I'm going to spray alcohol on it to get all the dust that I'm making with this sandpaper. Because if I don't, it may leave a little bit of residue in that. We don't want that. Okay, let me get the back center. I'll be right back. Well, actually, let me. I need to get a cloth. Okay, spraying with alcohol. Microfiber cloth. And that dries it out, but it also gets rid of all of that sawdust. And it's still pulling in a little bit, so I'm going to put those clamps back on. I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top, but I am going to get it a little layer over the top of that, so I'm not going to need very much resin. Okay, I'll be right back when I get the resin mixed up. Now I mixed up almost 2 ounces of tabletop resin, and I don't know if you can see, there's tons of bubbles, so I'm going to go put this in the vacuum chamber and then put it on there. Be right back. Well, you know, I tried to stay on top of these bubbles, but when it started warming up enough, I didn't get here quick enough, and a couple bubbles did come up. So now this is tabletop resin from Let's Resin, but it's very difficult. It's very thick, and there may still be a few bubbles, so hopefully I can pour this thin enough and I can get the bubbles out with that long-handled lighter. Around the edge. And those places where I drilled, can't see them very well now, which is good. Now I don't want this very thick because it'll get too hot. Okay, now and I'll just keep going around for the next hour or so. Well, it'll probably be cured up pretty much in an hour. There's a big bubble right there, little one. That was an area, I think, man, I can't even see where I drilled those holes. That's good. I know there's a big one here. There. Some bubbles over here. Come on, get out of there. If I go around the edge and can loosen them up, then they will come up to the top and I can pop them. Well, what do you think so far? Hope this cures up very nice and without any bubbles being visible. There's some bubbles right there that I need to loosen up. Come on, come to the top. Even when you try desperately to not have any bubbles, they can manifest themselves. And usually at the worst time, like those that came up right when I was not able to be with it, they came up and then they cured. Okay, I'll just keep coming back and making sure all of these bubbles are popped before I finish the project. Oh, there's one big one right here. I just noticed it. Come on. I got to get in different positions, different angles so that I can see them. Because from one angle, I think I've got them all, and then I look at a different angle, and I'm like, oh, nope, there's some more. But so far, this is looking like a very good piece. Now what you can't see is, well, you might be able to see it. It looks like a little white speck right down there. And that was where a bubble was coming up, and it cured in place down in about 3/4 of an inch. So there's nothing I can do about that one other than try and drill the whole thing out. But that would make a big mess, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so all those little micro bubbles are coming up. And I'm popping them. And it's getting very, very clear. Good. And I don't stay with this long-handled lighter. I don't stay in one area very long, especially near the edge, because that would fuse the resin to the mold, and we don't want that to happen. I think the sides are pretty good. Well, let's do them all the way. There we go. We'll be consistent with it. Okay. We'll come back when it's time to unmold. See ya. Well, I took the clips off of this so I can take this housing off now. And that housing comes in the this mold is from the Let's Resin rectangles mold. This is the medium sized one. There's a skinnier one and then one that's almost completely square, but look at that. Super thick. Let's see how this looks. I'm going to put this down so we don't damage it when it hits, when it comes out, because it may come shooting out. See, some of those flakes did sink all the way through. Okay, here we go. Let's see about this now. Huh? Boy, look how crystal clear that is. Wow. Now there is a little bit of an edge right along here that I think I'm going to use fingernail file and just take that down. But that's going to sit up like that. Wow, that's really cool. Let me, actually, I have a tool from Let's Resin, but I think that would be a little too much. What it's just got a little edge that I need to take down, and I don't think I need to work too hard. So I've got this hand sander, and this is I don't know what size of grit this is. 800, so it shouldn't take off too much. I'm just going to go around the edge, just sliding it back and forth to take that little sharp edge off. I don't want to touch the surface of the sides or the top, just that little edge. Just take it down. And having it with this holder makes it a lot easier and less prone to scraping over the side or on the top, because if you're just using sandpaper, sometimes I've had accidents happen if you haven't been able to tell. And I don't like them. Okay, so that's all I needed to do with that. Now get out a microfiber cloth. And there we go. Wow. This looks nice. Okay, now I have the lamp right here, and it'll sit on there perfectly. It's not a completely square, but it'll fit on that piece very well. I don't have, maybe I do. Let me check. Okay, I did have access to a plug, so let me turn off some lights in here so you can see the effect. Oh, come on, get off. And just see right down in there. Oh, look at there. There's like kind of smoky effect that either the flowers get. I think the flower gave that off. That's interesting, huh? But I will let me bring you down so you can see. Yeah. You got sparkly from the resin. Go all the way down. You can see that flower. Beautiful. Okay. I still got some dust specks up in here. Anyway, if you are wanting to embed flowers, you make sure they're completely dry before you put them in there, and then use a deep pour so that you can have crystal clear. Look at that. That's so slick. Yeah. Okay. If you are a subscriber of mine, thank you so very much. If you're not, it's very easy to become one. Just click subscribe button down below. And if you want to be a channel member, just click the join button. Yeah, thank you to Let's Resin for letting me work with them to put this video out. Cool. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. We'll see ya. Bye.